If you love boxing, you're gonna love this.
Well, hello and welcome to episode 12 of the BoxNation Podcast. I'm your host, Dev Sani, and joining me today is a man who embodies graft. This is a man who winces at the very thought of a day off. It is, of course, Mr. Steve Lillis.
Oh, the intros, they get better. 12 weeks in, I've missed a couple of them when Barry Jones came in, and this is about my 10th one, and the intros get better.
Yeah, do you like that one?
Yeah, I'm due away for holiday in a week or two, so I'm not going to go.
Poor Mrs. Lillis, turning down a holiday here. Steve, now, I know you're marathon training, right?
I am.
So I saw, on Bunce's Boxing Hour last week, I saw a little montage clip of you training with the Peacock Gym boys, Daniel Dubois, all of those kind of guys. And is it clever editing, or were you actually at the very front of all of their races that they were doing?
On one lap, I was meant to be. What happened was it wasn't the best move because, without boring you, I was meant to do a half marathon yesterday.
Right.
I had to pull out injured because I pushed myself too hard with
what
that.
Have you done?
What happened on the second mile we did?
Yeah.
I was the lead runner who would be like a handicap. So it was pointing at where I'd be caught by the last man.
Right. Okay.
So I thought I want to give this a good go.
Yeah.
Ran like my life depended on it, and only about 4 of them finished in front of me, overtook me.
Oh.
And the DD was just behind me.
Yeah, Triple D. What
But
injury?
the next lap wasn't so clever. I had a bit of a heel problem.
Oh, Steve.
From it.
Okay, no, but it all looked really good
It was
to me.
good fun, and they're terrific people down there at the Peacock Gym. Martin and the rest of the lads down there. Very welcoming, hospitable place, and I know you enjoy.
Yeah,
you go down there quite a lot, and I think they make you welcome as well.
They look after you. Can't do enough for you. Well, this week's podcast is not one to miss. We look back at last weekend's action. We look forward to this weekend's action. We hear from the one and only former two-weight world champion, one of the most popular fighters to ever come from these shores in Ricky Hatton. Now a trainer, his young heavyweight charge Nathan Gorman is building a rivalry with Dynamite Daniel Dubois, and we hear from both of those giants this week. Anthony Yarde, Jack Catterall, Ohara Davies, they'll all be in your ear, and also the one and only WBO World Bantamweight Champion Zolani Tete is on the show. Oh yes, listeners, we are not playing games this week. Sit back and enjoy. Now really, there's only one place to start the podcast this week. What a fight it was. Steve Lillis, how did you have it?
It wasn't a classic, but it was gripping, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, every second of it. And who did you think won? Who did you...
Oh, there was no doubt who the winner was.
So you went with Beltran?
I tell you what, you should get your coat and leave. That's the funniest line you've come up with in 12 weeks of podcast. Well, behave yourself.
You want to talk about Chris Eubank, didn't you?
Yeah, look, it was thoroughly enjoyable. It wasn't the epic encounter it was described by some, but that doesn't make it anything wrong with it. It was really enjoyed it. It was gripping. You couldn't take your eyes off for a second. Absolutely no doubt about the winner, George Groves. He was fantastic. He's now turned into the second Frotch loss, which was a heavy knockout.
Yeah,
he's turned into a very, very good world champion, and he's probably one of the most underrated Britons of all time. And he's proof that losses don't end a career. As for Eubank, it was a shame because the story afterwards should have been how great Groves was and how brave he was in those last 2 minutes after his shoulder went.
Yeah,
but the talks about it was horrible. The talks about Eubank. Look, I feel a bit sorry for the kid because he's had so much smoke blown up him by people around him, and then people who, like his dad, have done a great job of him because they've got him in this position.
They have.
But he's learnt nothing. He went in there, head down swinging, no tactics at all. That doesn't win you world titles or get you to finals of that. The corner was chaos. You'd have thought Ronnie Davies would have been allowed a bit more input because he's a boxing man. It was just a shame that he never got the credit he deserved, Groves, from some, because everyone's writing about Eubank and talking about the shoulder. Eubank, he was like a novice at times, and I left there feeling really... I didn't leave there, I watched on the TV. I turned the TV off feeling very, very sorry for him, because he's at a stage now where he's got a world-class chin, world-class toughness, and yeah, he could go to a trainer, a fight. He needs to get away from the dad. Look, I'm echoing what everyone's saying.
That's one of the real stories that's coming out of
he
this,
needs to go back to someone like an Adam Booth, or a Joe Gallagher. Someone who want to allow a father in the gym. Go to someone like Steve Maylett, Gary Lockett. There's a lot of trainers, great trainers out there who could take him. Get away from your dad. Let your dad go to the press conferences and balloon off because he sells you brilliantly. And he has got you in this position. You are through that a lot of the way. But at 28, how much can he learn now? It was just so many talking points about it. And then, of course, should they delay the final? Absolutely, because of George's shoulder injury. It's in the name of Muhammad Ali, the trophy, the greatest of all. What would a Muhammad Ali be thinking if a guy that got comprehensively beaten in the semi-finals and didn't look world class in it was allowed in the final? I don't care if it have to wait another couple of months.
Should be in there, yeah.
Look at the problems the Super Six had. The only world champion in the competition should be in there. And then we had Nazim Hamed after the fight.
Well, Steve, what I was going to say was that there seems to be 3 stories, the big ones that emerged from this in order, and Groves getting credit is the number 3 on there. First one is Eubank not being so as great as what he was hyped up to be. Number 2 was Prince Naseem Hamed, actually, and then Groves. So talk to me about Naseem.
Look, it was TV gold. It was the finest bit of boxing punditry in that sense since Nigel Benn was flown in by BBC to be the pundit for Audley Harrison, Derek McCafferty in Newcastle. Now, the main reason Nigel took the job was some of his squaddy mates and when he was in the army were up in Newcastle. So the idea of it was, they're bringing me over. I lived in Spain at the time. I'll do this bit of work. I'll have a night out with my mate. So he went on air on BBC, and when they asked him, he said, "Let's tell you something. Not as good as when it was on ITV, is it? This boxing." It was one of those moments since then. But you know what? It got people talking, and people found it funny. But if you look on the serious side, I thought that was unfair of Naz to say that, because at the end of the day, whatever Eubank's shortcomings, his only defeats have been on points to George Groves and Billy Joe Saunders. That's not enough for Chris Eubank Jr. to have to retire.
I think Naz was... he was hilarious. I was dying.
It was great TV. It's TV gold. People pay their pay-per-view.
Savage.
It was TV gold. He was savage. But when you look at the comments he made about you should quit...
Yeah, you
take it on the flip side. It's a harsh comment, and also you've got to take into account that in more recent times, not when they first met, there's history with Senior.
Right. Okay. Makes sense. Well, talk to me about Eubank then. Just quickly surmise. Where does he go from here? Is it he has to get a new trainer? Because, Steve, I don't think he will. I think there were calls like this after the Saunders fight. His corner, they didn't say nothing. They were just posturing. Eubank, Senior was getting in the ring and just looking at his son rather than offering advice. Similar sort of things going on here. Not a lot of advice coming. I don't think he's going to change anything.
Hey, you may well be right, Dev. I love the old man around him at press conferences. That side of him, the persona on Twitter and all that. That being proactive it has worked because it's got him. It's helped make him the name as well as the Eubank name, the brand of Eubank. But look, if he's going to be any elite super middleweights, he's got to move the dad out the gym, stop training himself, and stop doing these raps because they look like a phone book, and they were badly done. And get his dad out the training side of his life if he wants to become an elite fighter, because otherwise it's just not going to happen if he continues training himself. And also, I'd like to see if he could get back to middleweight.
He doesn't seem big enough to really make a dent. In terms of his super middleweight rivals, Reynold Quinlan, he fought. It was the other fellow, the Turkish fellow that he knocked out, Yildirim. We didn't know a lot about Yildirim, to be fair. But the other thing I was going to mention here, Steve, is Billy Joe Saunders, James DeGale. Absolutely relentless. Twitter was awash with memes, with funny comments, with videos, etc. Twitter was a great place to be over the weekend. Look, he was that stick was always going to come, particularly about the old man and the lad himself had spoke up. Billy Joe Saunders will take any opportunity to lay into him. James DeGale, I know James had a hard defense. I can see why James did, because he was ridiculed by him Eubank had
after his loss. So you can see why this has come back at him. I don't like to see a lot of but a lot of it they caused themselves. They brought about themselves.
You can't say my son is going to be better than Floyd Mayweather Jr. and then have him lose to Billy Joe Saunders and George Groves, and expect it to come back on you.
And thank heavens they never made the Golovkin match.
Oh, goodness me. Well, Steve, away from Eubank Groves, how about Raimundo Beltran picking up the WBO World Lightweight title and surely securing his green card?
Yeah, well, I expect him to get his green card now. I think he got some notification in November that it has been approved, but something else needed to be done. He has to do a little bit more, and I think he's done that now. It was a terrific fight. It was a really good fight. But looking at it, if you were managing a world-class unbeaten lightweight challenger, Ray Beltran, you'd want, because I tell you what, the reign that he's showing a lot of signs that he's coming to the end, and it's not going to be a long reign.
Well, you said that it was a battle of the boxing dinosaurs heading into it. Well, it turns out they had a lot of life in them.
They had a lot of life in them, but they weren't young men in there, and you could see that in the last few rounds. I think obviously Beltran against Lomachenko is a fight that fills me with horror, really, because he's far too good. I can get why they're going for that fight to get him a title, but it will be a horrible mismatch, and I don't think Ray's career as a champion is going to be long. But then again, you've got to take into consideration he would have been a pro, I think, 19 years in a few months. So he's had a fantastic career. He had all those spars with Pacquiao. He's finally become a world champion. I'll have a penny with you. He's not a world champion in 12 months.
Well, let's say, I do agree with you, so I'm going to save my penny. Now, we were talking about Groves and Eubank at the Manchester Arena. Well, the man who had many a memorable night at that arena was none other than Ricky the Hitman Hatton. It really was the house the Hitman built. Now a boxing trainer and promoter, he's got a growing stable of fighters, which includes 11-0 heavyweight prospect Nathan Gorman. Steve Lillis went to the gym and paid the Hitman a visit last week.
Ricky, just seen Nathan Gorman train this morning. How pleased are you with him ahead of his fight on BoxNation next week?
Yeah, very pleased with his progress, and as pleased as I am, I know there's so much more for him to come. I mean, he impressed in his last fight when he won the WBC silver belt against the unbeaten German opponent. And sometimes I'm his harshest critic, because I thought I know so much more what has got to come from him, but we forget sometimes he's only had 20 fights, amateur and pro. You know what I mean? Bearing in mind his age and that, sometimes I've got to slow down and realise just how far he's come. But his progress is brilliant, and it's very pleasing for the trainer, as well as he's doing with so little experience, to know that there's so much more to come. That's what makes it all more exciting for me. Yeah.
What's he like to train? Is he an easy fighter?
He is, and he's a very easy fighter to train. There's no attitude with him. He's down to earth, good family behind him, good people around him. You know what I mean? And he listens to me, and 9 times out of 10, every time he listens to something. But I mean, sometimes when he doesn't, and I raise my voice a little bit, he always puts it right, which that gives me great hope for the future. He gets on well with all the lads in the gym. It's a great gym to be in. There's no massive names as such, but they're all talented, unbeaten prospects, all pushing towards the same goal, which is to try and be a champion. So it's a good gym to be in, a good buzzing gym to be in.
I mean, you're confident to be a champion, and one name that's always going to be around during his career is Daniel Dubois, and they're fighting on the same bill that you all call that only adds to the rivalry. What's your thoughts on that simmering rivalry?
Well, it's one of them fights where they both got world class potential. So when you look at the level at the now, I think I speak for Frank, it would be silly for them to fight at the minute. The one thing is you want to put them on the same shows similar to this, build their reputations up, get them the right opponents so they can shine and look good against, and eventually build it into a bigger fight further down the line where the lads can make the most money. And I think that's what Frank's the best at doing. So I think that's what he'll do. As far as Nathan goes, they've sparred before in the past. Nathan says, Nathan would say would gladly have it tomorrow. There's one thing about him, he's, he'll take on all the challenges. The last time he fought the unbeaten German opponent for the WBC silver belt. He was due to fight someone else. The tougher test come on and he took it. That sums him up for me. You know what I mean? And he'd probably fight Dubois tomorrow, but I think our camp and the Dubois camp were all in agreement that they need to fight a little bit further down the later for something bigger, and when they do, you think how much better they're going to be in a few years down the line, that's an exciting, it's another British heavyweight title class for us all to look excited to. Yeah.
Fighter who popped in to see you today because he's in Manchester for a few days and just turned up cold to meet you was Ohara Davies. He said he needed some advice from you.
Yeah, he's going to come down again. I mean, he's only come today. I was busy here today, so I've not had a chance to chat to him as much. But it makes me, makes me very, very proud whenever, good fighters such as Ohara Davies are in Manchester and they feel the need to, the want to step in my gym and ask me for advice. It makes me feel very, very proud. And, even though we all have different trainers and rival promoters and stuff like this, British boxing is a family, and, as long as they're not up against any of my boxers, my door's always open for any British fighter to get advice from me. I'm very proud of what British boxing has done for me, and anything I can give back to British boxing or any of the British boxers, my door's always wide open, Steve, yeah.
You come back after a long layoff, and Tyson Fury's attempting the same thing. Your thoughts on that?
Well, it's a hard one to say because, I mean, how many times did they put in the papers, look at the size of Ricky Hatton, he'll never be the same, and I kept proving him wrong, didn't I? Sooner or later, that time, sometimes you do hit a brick wall. I had many, many fights where I put weight on and let myself go and didn't probably live the life as maybe I should have done. And how many times I got away with it, at the very, very highest level, I think was an extraordinary feat, so there's no reason that I can't think that Tyson can't come back as good as ever. When he come down to my gym a few months back, he looked absolutely sensational, and he was still carrying a lot of excess, but he looked absolutely brilliant, dead fast, dead quick. When you see the pictures of him recently, he's shedded even more weight, so he's going to be even better. I kept proving people wrong, but when they turned around and said, "You never come back the same," and that was what I did. That's what I got my name for proving people wrong, Ricky Hatton. And so there's no reason Tyson can't do the same, but at some point, your body does say no more. And I hope Tyson hasn't reached that point yet, but I think we'll only know till the first bell goes in this fight, yeah.
Well, the Hitman in fine form there. He mentioned, amongst several things, he mentioned Ohara Davies popping in for a visit, and we'll hear from Ohara Davies later in the show. Also in the gym, of course, on that day was Nathan Gorman. Now, Gorman was a late addition to this Saturday night's York Hall show live on BoxNation, featuring Anthony Yarde, Zelfa Barrett, and of course Daniel Dubois. Steve grabbed a word with the big Nantwich heavyweight.
Nathan, 11 fights so far, and you're getting quite a bit of attention now, do you feel?
Yeah, so far so good. 11 fights unbeaten. Pick up another title in my last outing, and obviously I'm getting good coverage now. Signed a deal with Frank and BT Sport back in the summer, so they've got the platform for me. I've done all the hard yards, the small hall shows and etc. So now I've got the bigger stage. Now with the BT Sport situation, so I can perform, show my skills, and showcase, show people what I'm about.
And that brings you to York Hall for your next fight. I don't think you've boxed there before.
No, I never boxed in York Hall. It's a very historic place. Fighting there every weekend. I think everyone's boxed there, haven't they? So it's good to tick that one off the box, definitely.
Have you ever been there as a fan at all?
Never been there. To be fair, I've been about 5 times in London in my life, so I don't adventure much.
So you're like Dick Whittington, are you? Going to London to make your name?
Yeah, that's what it is, yeah.
Also on that bill is a name that's always going to be linked with you until you finally meet. I'm going to mention Daniel Dubois. Yeah. Will you get to watch Daniel in his fight against D.L. Jones?
Yeah, I'll probably watch it. Depending on who's on first and who's on after, I'll probably sit down and watch, healthy competition. You can't beat that, can you? So, yeah, I'll sit down and watch him, definitely.
How soon do you think you might fight each other?
It could happen this year or it could happen next year. Myself, personally, I'd prefer to like it, if we both keep winning, he keeps on winning, and it comes to a big major title such as British, European or something, for a British heavyweight showdown. Let's fair, it's going to be easy to make. We're both with the same promoter.
But it warrants a big showdown where you're both earning proper money as well.
Exactly, yeah. When the time's right, the money's right, and the title's right, basically. And then, because there's no point in fighting now, all it is just unbeaten records. There's no major titles at stake, is there? So.
What do you remember of your time with him in Sheffield?
Well, I remember, to be fair, I was with him for about 3 years on and off Sheffield. We went through the trials together. We went to the Three Nations together and everything like that. So I shared rooms with him. Very quiet lad, isn't he?
I was going to say, how did you get on with him sharing a room? Because you're outgoing, chatty. Daniel doesn't say a lot.
We're two different personalities, I'm, like you say, very chatty and outgoing. He's just very within himself, and I can't describe the way. He's just very quiet, yes and no type of lad, isn't he? So two different people, really.
Was it hard to room with him?
Definitely. You could have a better conversation with the wall.
Did you get on at all, though, or not?
I get on with everyone, you know what I mean? So I can't say I didn't get on with him, but we was in the same category, so we couldn't be best friends, could we? So, because we wanted to do a number on each other. Every time we sparred, we wanted to hurt each other, you know. We had good spars, and we was in the same category, so we couldn't come best of friends. So we had to keep our relationship professional.
And also, as you say, you're totally different personalities at the end of your boxing careers. Even if you didn't mind him as a person and vice versa, you're not the type to go out and share a drink together, I don't think.
No, definitely not. We're not. I don't think he'd be one for that.
How many rounds did you spar together?
Altogether, 200-300 at least. Had to have been. You know, we was on the full GB team together for a year and a half, and you know, he was up there every 2 weeks and would spar 20-30 rounds each every 2 weeks. So over a year and a half, and before that, on the England camps and that would spar, so had to be 200-300 rounds.
So he'll know about your excellent boxing ability and you'll know about his power.
I know about him, he knows about me. That's why it's going to make for a good fight.
British heavyweight title fight coming up between Hughie Fury challenging Sam Sexton. Is that the fight that would interest you later this year if you got the mandatory nominations?
Yeah,
I don't think they'll come looking for you, either of them.
Yeah, of course. You know, obviously a British title. Every boxer in Britain wants to be a British champion. There's a prestige belt. And there's something special about the British heavyweight title in there. There's just something about it. I was very surprised, to be fair, when I heard Hughie was challenging for the British, you know, obviously coming from a world title. But I can see on one hand why he's doing it. You know, he's getting the major titles back again and building himself back up and getting mandatory. But like you said, to win the British title, of course, I'd be interested in it.
That's
Definitely.
something to say, but you were saying earlier in the interview, the British title is something every boxer treasures, and like you still...
Every boxer wants to be a British champion. Starting off, you know, everyone wants to be a world champion, but you want to be a British champion. There's something special about it in there. All the greats have done it.
One person who might not be going for the British title is coming back. He's one of your pals, Tyson Fury. What's he going to do when he makes his return?
Well, I've been looking on the internet. I think he's abroad now, and he's training.
Yeah, he's coming back next week.
He's coming back next week. He looks very slim. You know, I think he's lost 4 or 5 stone. So he's doing well so far. I hope he can come back. To be fair, you know, there's some big fights there for him now with the Joshuas, the Wilders, the Povetkins, and that's some big fights. And I'd love to see him a part of it again.
And can he be the last man standing out of those names you've mentioned?
If he's the way he was against Klitschko, definitely. I reckon so.
I like Nathan Gorman. He speaks well. He's got a good aura about him. Talk to me.
Yeah, look, he's doing really. Look, he's 11-0. Done nothing wrong so far. Might not have, should we say, the profile or the one-punch power of Daniel Dubois, but what he's got is boxing ability in stacks of it for a heavyweight.
Yeah,
big man who can move, who moves well, and the future is promising for him. And it's just a case of when this fight against Daniel Dubois does take place. Look, I mean, he spoke there about it. And there is a little bit of needle from their Sheffield.
There's something there, isn't it? Just bubbling away.
I don't think when they had room together, I understand it only lasted one night before they were moved apart.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But then again, they're different personalities anyway.
Completely. Yeah. We'll hear from Dubois very shortly, by the way.
And Ricky Hatton's, absolutely. You know, as a trainer, Ricky there is reborn with this, having this. He's got a good stable there, but this kid, you could tell how close he is to him, how much he cares for him, and you know, and I think seeing him at York Hall on Saturday, and if he has an impressive performance and gets his opponent out the way, you'll find more and more people whispering the name Gorman and people finding a case that he can fight and beat Dubois. The Gorman camp, they're convinced they win.
Yeah, I've heard very positive noises.
They're convinced.
Did they do the so you were in the gym, did Hatton and Gorman do like the fast pads? Yeah.
He didn't do a lot. He was a big sparring day for him that day.
Okay.
So Gorman, being a terrific kid he is and media conscious, he got there about an hour early to do the interviews with us. Good. And then he sat around for an hour chatting. Ricky come in. He warmed up. He then done 8 hard rounds sparring with Dave Allen, which was really good sparring. And then all he did was a couple rounds on the pads with Ricky. It wasn't those body bags and those big pads which Ricky does do a lot of. It was a big sparring day, the day that we were there.
There's some good videos going around online, and I'll probably put them up again in the build up to his return this Saturday night. He does pads with Ricky Hatton really fast.
Yeah, if you want some new stuff, there's some stuff we got last week, and I'm sure Cookie will send it to you. And a bit of sparring with Dave Allen if you want it for this week.
Yes.
Get on to phone to that man Andy Cook.
Yeah, let's get get hold of some of that content and get it out. One thing I want to put to you, and I asked Nathan himself as well, and he can't think of one. I think Nathan Gorman is a man who needs a nickname. What do you reckon?
I like it, yeah.
What you got?
Oh, mate.
Got anything coming?
Let's put it out there for a competition and see if we can
do
get
that.
a couple tickets for a show or something for him.
Yes, let's do that. And I mean, we're not promising you that Nathan Gorman is going to go with the name.
I'll be boring and say Nathan the Nightmare Gorman.
That's all right.
Triple
mate,
D
you know?
against the Nightmare.
I mean, that's actually all right. I think.
Let's have a competition. I'm sure when you can go when you see Frank Warren this week. So I won't see Frank this week. It's not me that's going to ask for the tickets. It's going to be you. You can ask. We've got this competition. Can you throw us 2 tickets?
Well, we also
for
need Nathan to agree to the nickname. I mean, the one that I've suggested to him before is Bam Bam, just because there was a wrestler called Bam Bam Bigelow, and he. For me, I mean, he was sort of like a big beast, and he reminds me a little bit of Nathan Gorman. But Nathan Gorman, I don't think he was aware of that, and he was like, "What do you mean from the Flintstones?" I'm like, "No, not from the Flintstones." So yeah, he doesn't like Bam Bam.
Drop him a message, and I'm sure he'll be.
Yeah, we'll think. Quite like the Nightmare though. But anyway, Nathan, if you are listening, nicknames they're going to be coming through on Twitter, and we're going to put the best one to you. Now, 6 fights, 6 wins, 6 knockouts, 20 years old. 6'5". We are talking about the man many are tipping as the future king of the heavyweight division, and his name is Daniel Dubois. Triple D, Dynamite, Daniel Dubois. He returns to our screens on Saturday night from the York Hall when he takes on unbeaten D.L. Jones. Steve Lillist asked him how he's found the start of his pro career.
It's gone well. It's gone to plan so far, so it's positive.
You've been knocking everybody out. Has it even gone better than you thought? Did you think, well, for example, do you think by this time you might have gone the distance?
I don't really. I'll go in there and I'll just do my thing. When I'm in the ring, I just do what I practiced in the gym. So whatever the result, as long as I'm winning, I'm cool with it.
Obviously you're winning, but do you think sometimes I could do with someone just to give me a few rounds who can take my power?
Well, I don't really focus on that. You know, if that's the case, then I'll just adjust in the ring and. You know, I prepare for every situation, so I'm not really fussy about that.
D.L. Jones, your next opponent, he's unbeaten. What does he bring?
He brings a challenge, a test. It'll be a challenge no matter what, and I'll be ready for it.
Have you studied him, or do you leave that to Martin and people in your team?
I leave that to mainly my people in my team, Martin and so on and so forth. But I've had a look at him. He's fought my last opponent, had a draw with him, and I'm feeling ready for the fight. I'm feeling ready for fight now.
So you're not one of these boxers that sit at home at night watching an hour of what he might do with his jab or what his right hand's like?
No, not too much. I don't take it to that degree, but I prepare for every situation that might come about in the ring, and I'm just prepared to be my best, my very best. So.
As your name's getting bigger, you're knocking more people out, there's also opponents that seem to be calling you out. Yeah. What do you make when people say, I'm going to fight Dubois one day and beat him?
Brilliant. I'm glad there's tests out there, challenges out there, so it makes it more exciting.
What about a fight against someone else who's on the York Hall bill down the line, Nathan Gorman?
Fantastic. If that happens further down the line, I'll prepare diligently for it, and I'll definitely be ready.
How well do you know? Because I understand you sparred together quite a bit in Sheffield.
Yeah, we came about in the squad together. I progressed onto the podium squad, and he left and turned pro. So we were similar ages, so we progressed at the same sort of time.
How did you get on with him in Sheffield, or didn't you mix with him at all?
Not really. I just studied my own thing. I was so caught up in the moment. I just enjoyed being there. I enjoyed my time there, so I enjoyed the experience.
And fight coming up for the British title, Sam Sexton's against Hughie Fury.
Yeah.
When you get to 21 in September, that must be a fight that you think, I'll have that.
Definitely, possibly down the line. Sure, definitely those fights can be made. And, you know, with prestigious titles on the line as well, it adds more flavour to it.
And before I let you go, the most important question. You saw me running this morning. How am I going to do in the London Marathon this year?
You probably win it, the way you was going, man. No, seriously, you were doing all right, so it's cool.
Well, Steve, one major talking point there. On the back of your exertions at the Peacock Gym last week, Daniel Dubois is backing you to win the London Marathon. Discuss.
Yeah, well, after showing them a clean pair of heels for a mile, before I then had to do the sprints and steps of them, and I got destroyed there.
Yeah.
The footage was burnt. I think he was quite surprised I finished in front of him for a lap. But you know what? Always good to go. As I said, good to go down there and see the lads and Daniel train. Very, very. He's an intense, but so focused. When they're all running on the first lap, everyone has a chat and a laugh. Daniel just keeps himself to himself and runs.
He's robotic, isn't he?
Yeah, he doesn't say a lot. Let's be honest.
As Nathan Gorman alluded to earlier.
And he don't talk as fluently as Nathan Gorman did, who I'm sure, some of you would love to hear all the time, because Nathan speaks so well. But the performances speak for themselves. I think 6 fights, is it about 9 rounds? That's Tyson-esque. And when you're knocking people out like that, the talking doesn't really matter at this stage of your career.
Absolutely. I think you're exactly right.
It's D.L. Jones this weekend. He isn't the worst fighter in the world.
He's undefeated.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with a fight at all for someone who's only had 7 fights.
Yeah.
6 professional fights. This is the 7th and a handful of senior amateur fights. There's nothing wrong at all. But
he's being brought along at the right pace.
At the right pace, but you just, as I keep saying every time you mention it, where are the people that are going to give him rounds? Because he's just a powerhouse.
Well, what is a good year for Daniel Dubois? So he's, when it comes up to April, he will be, we would hope he's 7-0. He's been in the pro ranks for 1 year. Say February in 2019, we go another year on from where we are now.
Well, you'd certainly like to think. I know that as soon as he's 21, they'll be pushing for him to fight for the British title.
And that'll be
Sam
September,
Sexton or Hughie Fury, whoever will be, must probably be champion. Whoever fights for that title in April, then they're probably not going to defend it until, maybe you get one defence in the summer, but certainly. And then you wonder if the Boxing Board of Control will allow Dubois to become the mandatory contender, which if they do, I'm sure Frank Warren will be pushing, going straight to purse bids or making an offer to Sam Sexton or Hughie for that fight. And it's up to them then when they take the fight, or whether he fights someone else for the vacant title. That's the route I'd like to see him go.
British champion within a year.
Within a year. I mean, as I say, it's going to be down. I think it's going to be down to the British Boxing Board of Control to make him a mandatory, because I don't think any of the champions are going to be, in a hurry to defend against him.
And so what do you make of
whoever is champion will be in a hurry to defend against him, Dev.
And that's Hughie Fury against Sam Sexton, the fight that's been it's on now, isn't
May
it? For
sometime.
for the British title. What do you make of that fight? I mean, Hughie's just fought for a world title. This appears to be a bit of a step back.
Oh, it has to be a step back. If you look right now around for Hughie, he'd be looking at, you could get world-class heavyweights in for him straight away, but he'll be start favourite to win the British title against Sam, and then, you just build yourself up. You could have 1 or 2 defences of that before maybe he has to decide whether to have the Dubois fight when he becomes the mandatory.
Yeah,
he will become the mandatory, that there's no doubt about.
No doubt. Big fight down the line. And Hughie's still so young, isn't he? I mean,
he's still a baby.
23, so it's not really...
He's still a baby. And although I don't think he got a decision against... He didn't deserve the decision against Joseph Parker. It was still a close fight, so...
Well, it's a lively British heavyweight scene. Of course, a mention to Joe Joyce as well, who's now 2-0, and I'm sure... Of
course, I apologise to Joe, who I know very well. He lives near where I stay in London at my mum's at Clapham Junction, so
nice.
If he sees you walking through Clapham Junction again, I don't think he'll like it not mentioned. I apologise, Joe. And of course, you're knocking on that door, but I've got a feeling they're pushing you towards the world pretty quickly.
Well, he's a man in a rush, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's 32 years old. He's 12 years older than Daniel Dubois.
Yeah.
So you would think, that he's been linked with the Chisora fight. You'd think that would happen sooner rather than later, and he would be knocking on the door for world titles. Well, the British heavyweight scene this year, next year, the year after, is certainly going to be one to keep an eye on. Now, when you hear those songs, when you hear that kind of music, the carnival atmosphere, the good vibes, it can only mean one thing. It's Tete time. Zolani Tete will be defending his WBO World Bantamweight title in Belfast on the Frampton vs Donaire show on April 21st. The last time he was in Belfast, he knocked his man out in 11 seconds and broke the world record. Well, Steve Lillis caught up with him over the weekend, and Zolani could thankfully spare more than 11 seconds.
Zolani, so are you looking forward to your second world title defence, is it, against Omar Narvaez?
Yes, man. I'm definitely looking forward to the fight. I've been working so hard since I was preparing for February, but unfortunately I got injured and I took some time off. But now I'm back to the training, working so hard. I can't wait for the 21st, to experience my second title defence.
And of course, it'll be your second consecutive fight in Belfast. So, do you think you're going to win over the Belfast fans and show them you're the man to beat Ryan Burnett?
Definitely, man. I've won quite a lot of fans in my last fight in Belfast. I'm hoping again this time around they will get to see me, they will get to see my style, and enjoy myself. I'm looking forward to the fight, and definitely I am the man to beat Ryan Burnett. I believe some of the fans there in Belfast, they know that, and they believe to what I'm saying. Come the 21st, and they will experience something else from myself.
Do you think Ryan Burnett and his promoter Eddie Hearn are scared of you because they're saying they don't want to fight you at the moment?
I can say they're scared of me, but as Mr. Hearn has explained himself, he wants a fight that will make money for Ryan Burnett. And I believe that is why they don't want to fight me, because they know that I'm going to take this little thing that is going to make money for Ryan Burnett. I mean, each and every promoter has a dream of making his own fighter a lot of money out of the sport, but I believe in this kind of boxing, in this kind of style, in this division, Ryan Burnett and myself can make a lot of money. And if we can fight, there will be a lot of people who will come and pay, and there will be a lot of sponsors that can support the tournament, because Ryan Burnett has made a name for himself, and I've made a name for myself. So I believe that fight can make a lot of money for Ryan Burnett and also for myself. So it's a fight that should happen.
What's it been like for you in your career? Because, although you've won titles, you've only recently started earning them good money, haven't you?
Yes. This is now that I'm starting to earn good money out of my boxing career. Especially now that I'm a South African. Here in South Africa, there's not much money coming out for boxing. In the past years, all the boxers, the world champions, they were making a lot of money. But since now, boxing has been dying a slow death here in South Africa. We don't make much money. Now, this is my only chance to make the money. And I believe by getting this kind of fights that I'm looking for, the Ryan Burnett fight, the Inoue, the Louis Neri fights, those are the kind of fights that I need in order for myself to make a lot of money.
What is the reaction from your friends in the gym and fellow South African boxers that you're fighting in England and getting good purses? Are they a little bit envious of you?
You won't be. The guys are looking up to me, and they respect me as the world champion, and they are looking forward to see me fighting again in Belfast. Some of them, they want to come along with me and come and fight also in the UK. And I'm trying by all means, to bring some of the fighters. And I know I'm a lot to handle, but as well as the fighters, it costs for my promoter to bring some of the fighters. I want to bring my brother along so that they can experience him fighting, because he's one of the best fighters here in South Africa. And there's a lot of talent here in South Africa, and the guys, they want to come and fight in UK because they believe there's life in boxing in UK. So I'm looking forward to the fight, and everyone now, when they hear my name and they hear that I'm fighting on 21st of April, they are looking forward to the fight. They also want to come and fight in UK.
What's it like for you when you come to the UK that when you get recognised a lot in the street over here? Are you surprised by that?
Yes, Nancy, actually I'm very surprised, and that's one of the things that make me feel at home, because here in South Africa, there are provinces where not even a single person can recognize me as a world champion. But, I went in UK and people were recognizing me while walking on the streets. That's unbelievable. And as a South African fighter, I'm so excited about it, and I'm so happy. I believe that's a dream of each and every boxer, to be recognized worldwide. And I mean, I'm so happy that I am fighting in UK.
Tell us about your fight against your countryman, Sibonisa Gonya, when you won in 11 seconds. How much did that surprise you?
I was actually surprised by the short knockout. Though I knew that Sibonisa doesn't have a chance in me, and I knew that I've got a chance of knocking him, but I didn't expect it to happen so soon. It happened so quickly, and as I was working hard, I knew that Sibonisa is not an easy fighter. He was rated number 3 by the WBO, and I had to take that fight seriously. And I was looking forward to the fight, and I wanted him to give me a good fight, so that I can express myself in terms of boxing. But unfortunately, it didn't happen the way I planned. It happened so quick and so short, and I still wanted to fight. But I thank you for giving me that opportunity to set a record for myself. I mean, I doubt if there's ever that will ever break that record. But I'll try by all means, to that level in a high stage and fight the best fighters.
Do you think you could break that record against Omar Narvaez? Have you got a secret punch plan to throw for the first second?
I serve a living God. Every time I pray to be victorious. It's always God who's giving me miracles, and He's the one who's always showing me His power. So I believe if I pray so hard to break my record, through Him I break the record. Obviously, I won't be disappointed as well if it doesn't happen like that. As long as I'm going to be victorious on the night, I will win. Omar Narvaez is not going to beat me. With all due respect to the man, he's a former 2-time world champion, but not this time around. This is my time, and unfortunately for him, I think he will have to close the books now.
You've got a remarkable physique, and with the weights you've drifted between, how far can you go up in weight, and what could you still get down to if you needed to?
You won't believe when I'm resting, when I'm at home doing nothing, I'm always around 58, 57. That is why it's so easy for me to go down to 53 as a bantamweight. Because once I start working hard, my weight just drops down so quickly. And according to the training, to the kind of training that I'm doing, I'm working hard, and it makes sure that all my muscles are working. And that is why it's so easy for myself to just drop the weight from 58, and I just dropped down to 53. And I also want to thank my team, because without them, I wouldn't be as physique as I am when I'm going to the fight. Those guys are spending much time with me than spending with their families. Let alone the fact that it's their job, it's part of work to them, but they are spending a lot of time, and they are using their brains, in order to come with a strategy to win the fight and all the plans. I mean, I give credit to the guys, and I believe coming to this fight, I will also be in a superb condition, and I doubt Omar Narvaez is gonna go full 12 rounds with me.
Just one thing before we let you go. What is your message to the rest of the fighters in the bantamweight division?
My message to them is that let's make the big fight happen. I mean, we are all world champions, and we are all credible world champions. There should be one king. The heavyweights are doing it, they are showing us. So why are we running away from each other? I mean, the A champion, the WBC, the IBF champion, they must come on board. There must be one king in the Bantamweight division. The champions must know that, and we must all fight, man, in order for us to make money. That's how we're going to make money, by fighting each other, and to show that this is the best bantamweight division. This is the best bantamweight champion.
Well, Steve, my man Tete is out here delivering a message to the bantamweight division. He has warned this before. He said there should be only one king. What says you, Steve Lillis?
Words we want to hear. We'd love to have only one champion in the division. And when some fighters speak, they're saying it just for column inches to get on Twitter and social networking on TV. When this guy says there's only got to be one champion, he means it, and he will travel to all their countries to fight them all.
He's literally chasing Ryan Burnett.
He's chasing. He can't chase second time in Belfast back to back. So that's the fight he wants. Whether it happens, we know it's down to Burnett to say no.
Sure.
Or I know Frank Warren. I wouldn't be surprised if Frank Warren did make some sort of offer that would be impossible to turn down. And
he's already done that. He's already done that. For me, the offer that was impossible to turn down was, here you go, have Zolani Tete on Sky TV. We'll pay his purse. It's a free unification. Have him. And they didn't come back. So.
Oh, well, I don't know what more Frank Warren can come up with there now. You're telling me things. And he'll go to Belfast again, and you know what? He'll try and beat the world record.
He probably will.
Against Omar Narvaez. I remember Omar. Well, I remember Omar. He was on one of the very, very first overnight shows on BoxNation when he fought Nonito Donaire and went to the distance.
Yeah, went the distance,
I think about a week after Bellew Cleverly. It might have been the first ever overnight show on BoxNation. He's been around a long time. Everything's stacked. He's a mandatory challenger. I don't think this is the opponent Frank Warren or the team would have picked, but a WBO has slapped the mandatory, and Narvaez is the mandatory.
He's tough, isn't he?
Well, yeah, he's won his last 5 fights. Look, he was taken out by Inoue, but there's no shame in that. He went the distance with Nonito Donaire, and I think there his only losses in 52 fights. So the toughness is there, and can Zolani do the same job as Inoue and get him out the way
in 10 seconds, maybe?
In 10 seconds, hey, you'd fancy he could. Zolani's a lot taller, very short, Narvaez.
And this whole this Burnett thing, I've heard arguments going around about Zolani Tete hasn't got the profile maybe to get that fight with Burnett. Well, let me say this. I put it to you that Zolani Tete is more known in Belfast than Zanit Zakhianov was.
Oh yes, without a shadow of a doubt. I mean, they know. Yeah, he's better known than Zakhianov.
So what's the problem?
Zakhianov. But look. Zolani Tete, as I say, he's a fighter willing to go and have these fights. And he's the sort of guy who won't go and price himself out of these fights either.
Well, Tete is a man that we'll be seeing on our screens in April on the Frampton Donaire Belfast show. Another man we'll be seeing in April on the Saunders Murray show on April 14th at the O2 Arena is 140-pound contender Ohara Davies. We heard from Ricky Hatton earlier in the show that OD popped in to see the Hitman, and here's what Davies had to say to Steve Lillis.
Ohara, BoxNation are in Manchester today, and Ricky Hatton's gym, and you've walked in here. What are you doing at the Hitman's gym?
I would love to meet Ricky Hatton. I've seen him before here and there, but I'm a massive fan of his, and from once I got into boxing all those years ago, I used to watch him every single day on YouTube, and I still look up to him. So Ricky's the man. He's done so much for British boxing, and I feel like Ricky's not appreciated enough. But people that really know boxing know how much of a legend Ricky is. So I just love to meet him. So that's why I'm up.
So you've come to Manchester just to meet Ricky Hatton?
No, I was in Manchester anyway to come and see my friend. But I thought that if I can get a chance to meet Ricky Hatton, then I would love to meet him. So yeah.
So you've just pitched up at his gym to see him?
Yeah, I've turned up at his gym. Hopefully he's here and I can speak to him and get a quick picture.
See, this is the son of Ohara Davies. We don't know. People think of the Twitter, and here you are, coming to see Manchester as a boxing fan to meet somebody.
Exactly. I feel like the way that I've been portrayed, the way that I've portrayed myself on social media in the past has been totally wrong. But obviously I was always influenced by the people that I was under, and now that I'm not under them anymore, I feel like I can be me. And this is actually how I am. I'm a massive fan. I'm a fan. I'm a boxer, but at the same time, I'm still a boxing fan. So yeah.
Ricky must be your idol then, I presume, to have come this way to meet him.
100%. I used to watch. I've seen so many of his fights. All the training sessions he used to do from when he was young, when he was under Billy Graham. I used to watch all their documentaries, and I know so much about him. And yeah, so just I still feel like I'm actually so excited just to meet him. I'm actually really excited to meet him, and I don't really get excited about meeting people anymore. But he's a total legend in the sport.
And yourself, where are you training now for your boxing?
I'm training over at the West Ham gym in London, trained by my friend Carlos. Me and him have been doing our things behind the scenes for the past 2.5 years. I've kept it really on the low that we've been doing our things on the side, but you know, where I was, there was so many fighters. I didn't feel like I got the right attention that I needed. The training wasn't tailor-made to suit me. Like, every fighter's got a different fighting style, and you can't train everyone the same. And I felt like I was getting trained the same as everyone else, but I'm a different fighter. So me and him have been doing our things behind the scene, and that's where I've learned all my skill anyway. So now that I've parted ways with my old coach and I'm full-time with him, there's going to be a massive improvement. So on April 14th, we'll see it. Yeah.
Like when Ricky Hatton was in the same division as you, he was getting called out. You've gone quiet, but fighters are still calling you out now. I saw Jack Catterall said he wants to silence you.
Fighters, they're still calling me up because they know that even though I took a loss last year, I'm still the biggest name at 140 in the country. Who wouldn't want to fight me? A lot of people saw the fight that I lost and they're thinking, oh, we know how to beat Ohara Davies. You know, he can get beat. So I can understand why I am being called out. I've come onto BoxNation and onto Frank Warren, and I will get more attention than all of his other fighters at my weight class, because I'm not being arrogant, I'm not being boastful, but it's just a fact. I'm bigger than all of his other fighters at 140. So you know, I can understand why they want to fight me, because I'm where the hype's at, I'm where the money's at. So you know, I understand.
So do you want fighters like Jack Catterall and Terry Flanagan if he wins the WBO 140-pound title?
I wouldn't say there's any names that I want. I want the titles, and the title is what I want. So if anyone, the fastest way to get me to a world title, whoever stands in my way, that's who I want. But there's no fighter that I dislike. You know, I don't mind any of them. I just want to get to a world title as soon as I can. And if Catterall's in my way, Terry Flanagan's in my way, whoever they've got in my way, you know, they'll become my victims.
Well, thanks for speaking to us for the podcast. We'll let you get back to finding Ricky in the gym somewhere.
Thank you very much.
Now, listeners, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Dev, look at this airtime that you're affording Ohara Davies over here, going on and saying that he's the big dog at 140 in the UK. What do other fighters think of that? What does the British super lightweight champion Jack Catterall, for example, think of that? Well, let's find out.
Thanks for joining us, Jack. We've just had Ohara Davies on the podcast, and he's told us that even though he took a loss last year, he's still the biggest name at 140 pound in the country. And talking of yourself and Terry Flanagan, he said, who wouldn't want to fight me? I'm the man who brings the attention.
Yeah, can't argue with him. He's got a big name, not for all the right reasons. So I can't dispute that, but I don't believe he's the best fighter in the division. I believe I'm the best 140-pound fighter in the UK. And I'd be interested to see what fights unfold this year. That's the fight that I'm definitely looking forward to getting stuck into if it can be made.
Because there was a quote from you I saw where you said you'd love to smack the dog shit out of him. That's not like you, Jack.
Yeah, that was just a bit of a welcoming to the stable under the promotion. Yeah, I think he took it all right.
What do you think of him as a fighter, though, Ohara Davies?
To be honest, I've watched his fights, and he can fight. I see little flaws here and there that I know that I can capitalise on. Obviously, he got found out in his fight against Josh Taylor, so there's stuff you can take away from that fight. But overall, all right fighter. I don't believe he's great.
Yeah, and another thing is, a lot of people make great points about his strength, but if he comes up against you, he'll be fighting someone who's most possibly stronger than him, because you're so strong at the weight, aren't you?
Yeah, I feel very strong at the weight. We've seen his performances. We've seen he's had plenty stoppages as well, and credit to him. But I've looked at the opposition that he's fought. He's had a couple fights where the opposition hasn't been great. But yeah, it'd be interesting, because I know my style of fighting will. He's got these long arms. He likes to get plenty of range on his shots. But I know that I can suffocate him. I know that I've got the skills to beat him. Whether it be getting inside, fighting him closer, or just having that nicking the timing and the distance with the feet.
On to yourself, Jack. You yourself and Haroon Headley have split. That was a shock to boxing. What was your thinking behind that and the move to Jamie Moore?
Yeah, it was a decision I didn't take lightly. Me and Haroon have had a good run. We've had 3 fights together and 3 good wins. But I just felt like it was a time in my career where And like all fighters, you need to put yourself first. So I put myself first. And for me, it was just I needed a fresh start. I'm hungry now to get stuck into these big fights. And I feel like this move now going forward, I can keep progressing from where I've left off. I've won that British title with Haroon. Had an amazing night in Leeds last year, but on to bigger and better things.
I mean, although it must have been a hard decision to leave Haroon because, you'd had the 3 wins and you go back a long way when he was Lee's assistant. In boxing, is it because, you do have to look after yourself, number one, and live by your own decisions?
Of course it is. You get many fighters and many ex-fighters that I've spoke to over the years, and they've got so many regrets from not doing things and taking stuff into their own hands. So for me, it was I'm quite selfish like that. And anyway, and you've got to be in boxing, you've got to protect yourself. We're all just piece of meat. At the end of the day, everybody just you got all managers, promoters, agents, and trainers. And at the end of the day, we're the ones climbing through the ropes, getting the job done. So I felt like it was the right decision to make, and I'm confident going forward that I can have more success. How's
it going with Jamie? You've only been there a very short time. How are you gelling in that gym? Because there's a lot of strong characters in the gym, and you're, maybe not as loud as them.
I enjoy it. I like to keep quiet. I like to go in the gym, mind my own business, and get to the hard work, and that's what I've always been about. But like you said, there's a lot of characters in this gym now, and I've been in the gym for 2 weeks with Jamie. I already feel like I'm making small improvements, which is what I planned on doing, picking up things off other fighters and just having Jamie in the gym as well, from his experience as a fighter and as a trainer. It's been really good, and I've enjoyed myself more than anything. Like they say, a happy fighter is a dangerous fighter.
And also Nigel Travis is in there helping Jamie. People make the point how busy it is, but Nigel plays a big part there, doesn't he, as well?
Yeah, of course. It's I've been there and then I've got into the swing of things these last weeks, but it's well organised. I think there's 10 professional fighters now, but everybody splits up, so everybody gets their individual time to get their work done. I'm training for a fight at the moment, and you've got every other fighter, I think, has got a date, so everybody's really pushing each other. And Nigel's there, he's Jamie's assistant, but again, he's got bags of experience that he brings, and I think 2 eyes is better than one. So with them both being there, it's better for me.
And we saw some stuff on Twitter the other day of the sing-off you had in the gym. Did you sing at all? If so, what did you sing?
I was just getting to swing of things with it. I was having a little watch of everybody, but I think it's in the next week or two it'll be my turn to pick up the mic.
And what will your song be?
I've not decided yet. Believe it or not, I've never done a karaoke in my life, so I have to have a little think before that.
And you said you got a fight coming up. I understand, is that March the 31st in Preston?
It is, yes. So MTK have managed to secure me a fight in Preston, March the 31st. That'll be a 6-round fight just to get into the swing of things with Jamie, and then we're straight on for May the 19th on the Warrington Selby card.
And what would that be, a British title defence or some sort of international fight?
Yeah, I'm not too sure what the fight will be for yet. Obviously, they've got the British title and the WBO Intercontinental, but I'm sure I've got confidence in Frank and the management that will make the right decision going forward.
Steve, so much to discuss. I get the feeling that Jack Catterall against Ohara Davies could build into quite something.
I think it will happen. I wouldn't be surprised if that was Jack's next British title defence.
You reckon?
I've no inside knowledge. He's fighting at the end of March.
Yeah.
O'Hara's fighting in April. Jack is going to fight in May, whether that's going to be for a British title, which if it is British title, then it's unlikely to be Ohara a month after O'Hara's fought.
Yeah.
But it's certainly a fight for later in the summer, September, an absolute natural fight with the winner to go on and most probably fight Terry Flanagan if he wins the WBO title against Maurice Hooker.
Yes, Maurice, of course.
It's a natural fight. Catterall's, has made his comments known, and he spoke about it there. He welcoming Ohara to the stable with his whacking the dog turd out of him talk. O'Hara's told them, I'm the man in the division, I'm the biggest name. It's all the ingredients for him, Catterall and Flanagan to have a little series. And of course also we fighters like Josh Lever, Jeff Saunders on the outside also wanting to jump in. It's exciting times. Ohara, I saw him, look, I've had, my opinion of Ohara, particularly some of the tweets, but it was strange. That's the actual true story. When he went to the Hatton gym, he was having a couple of days off training, staying with a friend of his, a fitness trainer, who lived in Alderley Edge. He got a taxi from Alderley Edge to Hyde, just in hope that Ricky was there, and walked in the gym to see if he was there.
Like a kid. He sounded like a kid in that interview.
There is that. There is a big kid in him. And what's interesting, you could tell he's quite worried about what he says now in interviews or how he comes across. Because after that interview, he said to me, "How was that? Was that okay?" And looked at his friend for some sort of
that's interesting.
Yeah, that's fine. He did a thing for one of Ricky Hatton's websites.
Yeah.
He then looked at his friend who, was that okay?
Yeah.
Which was quite interesting.
Just on that, Steve, I had him take over the Instagram story last week, and I was expecting, some more colour. Let's put it that way. And he surprised me. There wasn't a lot going on. He kept it very safe, and it was a lot of just, I'm gonna go for a run now. Here's me running. This is me training. Hope you guys are well. Just very, very, very safe. Not the Ohara Davies that we would have expected. If he'd have been given the keys to the castle maybe a year ago, what would he have done on the BoxNation Instagram?
You'd have taken it off him, wouldn't you? In about half hour.
Let's have them keys back.
But look, he's obviously knuckling down. Let's just see. And I hope, I'm not going to be, praising him to the hilt, but I hope he does knuckle down and wins over people like myself. And he was, I will say, when I was with him last week for a few minutes, he was fantastic to deal with. And then of course Jack Catterall, 19 fights on his third trainer. He left Lee Beard. He's now left Haroon Headley, but I think that was on better terms than what it was with Lee Beard.
What do you make of this three trainers? Because from afar it doesn't maybe look that great.
A lot of people. It's some funny. I was with some. Forget it was. Someone said to me the other night. Said it's his third trainer in 19 fights. He's got to make this one work, because if he doesn't, it might reflect on him. Which the point you made. You're not the first person to. Well, one other person has said that to me, so that's a very, very valid point, and Jack knows that. But look, he's putting his neck on the line. He makes no secret. He's made a decision. He's selfish about his career, and he's doing what he thinks is right for his career. If he went and suddenly would stop performing, got beaten by, say, Ohara Davies, people will look, well, he made the wrong decision there. Because at the end of the day, they say if it isn't broken, there's nothing to fix. And Haroon Headley took him for the British title. I mean, we don't know what goes on behind the walls of the gym and their relationship. But to me, Haroon did little wrong. I don't think Jack admits that. He just wanted the change. And it was, there's very few secrets in boxing. You always hear whispers of what fights being made, who might be leaving that trainer. But that one come totally out of the blue. Because I was with them in Manchester 2 weeks ago, and there was no sign of it at all. Very, very happy camp, and it is one that's caused a few surprises. Let's see how it works. I mean, Jamie's a very busy trainer. I think he's got 10 boxers now.
We talk about him pretty much every week now, because
10 boxers, and they're all elite. So I'm going to see him this week, Jamie. It might. I know we had him on the podcast a couple of weeks ago. It might be worth getting him to explain, to defend himself, how he's going to fit all these guys in.
Yeah, I mean, he's got Nigel Travis there as well.
Nigel Travis is a big help. Nigel has been around boxing a long, long time. He was an accomplished amateur at the Fitzroy Lodge when he was in London working as a firefighter. He then moved back to his hometown Manchester, where he's got a fantastic amateur club at Moss Side, and he's in there. Nigel's role as the assistant, I mean, I think there's a bit more than he's just more than an assistant to Jamie. You could argue Nigel's got a lot more experience than Jamie on that side of boxing training.
Well, the camp, that gym, it looks like the place to be. It looks so fun. On Instagram over the week, Martin Murray, Carl Frampton, Tommy Coyle, they were all putting up videos of them all doing a karaoke.
Yeah, right.
How fun.
Brilliant. What happened? Tommy Coyle on Friday brought his pal in to play a few tunes.
Right, okay.
So he got them doing the karaoke, which
Incredible.
is... But it's... I've never known a stable that, all Jamie had a few months ago was he was helping out Steve Wood. He had a bit of a career as a pundit and stuff. He had his book out. He was helping Steve Wood, a couple of Steve Wood's fighters. Then Oliver Harrison become unwell, so he took over Martin Murray and Rocky Fielding.
Yep.
He had Tommy Cole, beforehand,
and
a couple of Steve's fighters. And then suddenly it's mushroomed. It's I've never known a stable to mushroom as quickly with elite fighters. You see it happen over a year, not in a matter of weeks. And sure, what if you look at that, there's also pressure on Jamie there.
Yeah, well, there has to be. Yeah, there's going to be a
Because
lot of
he was a
eyeballs
great
on him.
fighter and one of the best British fighters never to win a world title. He's not an experienced trainer, and he'll admit that. He's an honest man. So, you know, he's been a fighter. He's been in pressure fights. That's why he can handle the pressure. And people will be looking. Say a Carl Frampton. I mean, people, for example, are saying Martin Murray will lose to Billy Joe Saunders. He won't be judged on that. He'll be judged on things like Jack Catterall getting beat by somebody he should beat. Say a Ohara Davies who he shouldn't beat. People will be picking a day, but he'll be judged on fights like that. Donaire beating his man Frampton. They're the sort of fights he will be judged on, Jamie.
That is what I've noticed from my time in boxing. When a fighter does lose, a trainer becomes a bad trainer overnight. Shane McGuigan for me was a prime example of that. How long did he go with Carl Frampton and they were undefeated? Suddenly he loses to Leo Santa Cruz, and McGuigan could have done more in the corner.
Look, it's what trainers always, they're always blamed, aren't they? When the fighter wins, the fighter gets the credit. When the fighter loses, the trainer comes under scrutiny, and that's more and more so in the days of since message boards come in and Twitter, because everybody has a voice, and people might have an agenda against somebody.
Absolutely. Now, Steve, a little birdie tells me that for your world famous "What You Talking About, Lillis" rant this week, well, the section of the show, you have praise you want to lavish on someone rather than a rant. Am I right? Tell me I'm wrong. What you talking about, Lillis?
Hey, what you talking about, Lillis? Well, this week Lillis isn't going to be butchering people.
No.
He's going to deliver heaps of praise on Tommy Langford.
Okay.
I thought his performance against Jack Armfield, who's decent, on Saturday night at the Manchester Arena was exceptional.
Yeah.
It was the best I've seen Tommy boxed. You know what? You saw a picture on Instagram of his family, smiling, and you can see why. He's had 2 fights since Avtandil Kurtzidze, wiped him out in 5 rounds, a heavy loss.
Yeah.
And he's recovered so well from that. I mean, a lot of people wrote him off after that. And you know what? We were speaking about trainers there. He didn't blame his trainer, Tom Chaney. He stuck with Tommy. They've come back with 2 wins. And the win against Armfield was a fantastic first defence of his British title. And, he can look. I mean, it's going to be, I'm not being daft. It's still a big leap for him to get back to world level. But there's some fantastic domestic fights for him. There's Mark Efron if he's going to do middleweight.
Oh my God!
That's a great fight.
Mouth-watering, that one.
That's a great fight. Boxer beat puncher. There's other guys like Liam Cameron. I think it's Conrad Cummings. He could fight. Brian Rose is still around, who had lost to Armfield. He could have a very good year this year defending his Lonsdale belt if he's kept busy. And then next year, by the middle of next year, 2019. Move back into world level. I was really impressed with Tommy the other night, and really pleased for him because he went away. Let's be honest, few people wrote about him. Few of us went to see him, and he bounced back with that performance on the big stage the other night. Great performance. I'm very, very pleased for
the Baggies
for
bomber.
Tommy, and someone from West Brom had to have a win.
Well, that's Tommy. That's the Baggies bomber. Let me put this to you, Steve. Now, this was a fight that was supposed to happen, and it never happened. Chris Eubank Jr. against Tommy Langford. It was meant to happen, right? Meant to be for the British title, and then suddenly there's letters going around saying no, we can't fight Tommy Langford because we might hurt him. A lunacy coming from the Eubank camp.
It showed someone who's got boxing skills what they could possibly do again. We saw it with Billy Joe Saunders. We saw George Grove when he boxed the other night. Look, I'm not saying Eubank might have caught him and found him, but I'll tell you what, he had the skill. On the performance on Saturday night. He had the skills to give Eubank all the trouble in the world, and you can bet your life when Tommy was watching the fight from the back of the arena or wherever he was sat, I bet he had bruises on his ankles from kicking himself that the fight never took place.
Yeah, I mean, he does. It wasn't his fault. He was ready to go.
He was ready to go. Eubank was supposedly ready to go, and you know what? I remember Tom. I'm not making excuses for the Kurtzidze loss. Best man won on the night, without a shadow of a doubt. But Tom Chaney, his trainer, said often that that fight knocked the life out of him, the Eubank fight falling through.
Yeah, and it was going to be a great show in Cardiff. It still was a great show as well, but that would have really added some spice to that. And seeing Eubank's subsequent performance against George Grove, some of the amateurish moves, you wouldn't make Tommy Langford too much of an outsider.
No, you'd say it was a pick and fight. So you can make a case. I've just made a case what Langford could do to beat him unless Eubank finds improvement.
Well, we'll be live from 8:30 this Saturday night for an action-packed card from York Hall. The nominal main event is Anthony Yarde against Tony Avalanche. It's understood that several fighters were offered the fight with Yarde, with only Avalanche stepping forward. Steve Lillis caught up with the Beast from the East and asked him if he felt frustrated with opponents turning him down.
You know, we've tried to get certain opponents, but it's not easy to get me fights. That's a fact. I'm just focused on this opponent coming up. He's been around as well. Again, more experienced than me. So I've got to go in there and do my job.
Do you look at things when you see good world-class men like Jürgen Bremer stopped him, and do you think, well, it'd be good to equal that, or do you think, well, I'll go the distance if I have to?
Literally, I'm prepared for anything. The last guy I fought, he had never been stopped, and he had been in there with world champions before as well. I was the first one to stop him, but everyone knows my motto, and that's entertainment. And when I can get the knockout, I'll get it.
What brings the power? What's so natural about the power? Because it's not as if you've been in a boxing gym since you was 8 years of age developing it.
I started boxing late, very late. Started boxing when I was 19, had my first fight when I was 20, 26 now. Been professional coming up 3 years. The power, I don't know where it comes from. I think it's a mentality more than anything. There are certain attributes there. I used to do a lot of different sports. I've done rugby. Didn't play it at any high level. I just played it a bit. Played basketball, football, and I've done athletics. So I think most of my explosive power will probably come from athletics.
You're very set in your ways what you want to do with boxing. Yeah. How selfish are you as a person?
I wouldn't say I'm very selfish. I've become selfish because boxing's a selfish sport. You have to be selfish in the right things. When it comes to fight time, leave me alone. I'm not coming to your birthday. I'm not coming to your wedding. Because at the end of the day, everyone lives their separate lives. And boxing ain't a game that you can take half-heartedly or mess about. So when it comes to training my priority, everything else comes second.
I mean, there's a lot of great fights out, domestically as well as on the world stage. Is Frank Buglioni and Callum Johnson, is that the fight that you're itching for? I know you don't chase people, but that must be a fight you fancy.
Well, the reason the Frank Buglioni fights appealed to me so much is because he called my name out. Everyone's starting to do it now, but he called up my name, put a picture up on his social media saying after he fights Ricky Summers, which he fought a while ago, that he has no problem taking my undefeated record. So I said, okay. We tried to make a fight with him way down the line when I was on my 9th professional fight. He's a British champion, so he has something. So it makes sense.
As you said yourself, what's it like now? Is it because you've been around a little bit now, though you're still very young in your professional career, that guys are calling you out? Tom Baker's coming back, he wants to fight you at light heavyweight. Lyndon Arthur the Manchester guy wants to fight you. What's it like to be called out by these guys?
Well, these are all guys that are starting to call me out recently. It all comes with profile. The bigger the profile, people want to take other people's positions. That's what boxing's about. It's a competitive sport. I see it as friendly, aggressive competition. And aggression is what I'll do in the ring. Outside the ring, I try to be more humble and, more of a pleasant person. But when it comes into that ring, once that bell goes, it's savage. So if anyone wants to get in the ring with me, when the time's right, if you're in the same position as me or you're elevating as well with your career, we can make it happen.
Saturday it's Tony Avalanche. I'm sure it'll be the last time we'll see you at York Hall. You've been boxing on big bills and you're going to be headlining them. What are we going to see from you?
Well, that's the aim. That's why I'm so focused, because even what I've achieved so far in such a short space of time, in my mind I haven't achieved nothing yet. People always say to me, you've done well, I'm proud of you, etc. But in my mind it's like a blank sheet of paper. I haven't achieved nothing yet, so I've got to keep elevating, do better. I know I've done well so far, but do better. And York Hall, it's one of them venues that is always going to be home. It's East London, that's where I was born and bred. And it's one of them venues in East London that are the pinnacle of boxing.
over the years. So probably last time I'm going to fight there. I'm going to make it a special one.
That was the Beast, Anthony Yarde. Actually, I think, as I said before, it's the Beast from the East now. He's changed it, Steve. I mean, there's a bit of dynamite, dangerous Daniel Dubois about this. People just change their nicknames.
This wasn't a Devsani production, was it?
Absolutely not. No.
Okay, I'll let you off because I know how much you love a nickname.
I do love a nickname, but I mean, he was the Beast initially, but now he's the Beast from the East. I'm a fan of the rhyming scheme for all of that. That all works for me. But he seemed well. Actually,
he was in good form the other day. He was very, very relaxed. Like Anthony is, he kept us waiting for hours on end at the peak.
Sure.
Now he was only a little bit late. We were booked to be with Dubois from like 9 till 12, and then we had to wait 3.5 hours by the time he rocked up. But
Dubois starts early, doesn't he? Dubois was in there very early.
Dubois starts very early in the morning, finishes by 12.
Yeah. And
Yarde usually starts about 3ish.
Yeah, that's the one. So he said in that interview, amongst several things, he likes friendly, aggressive competition. Aggression is what he does. Once the bell goes, he is a savage. Is he going to be a savage on Saturday night, Steve?
Yes. Look, Avalanche looks, it's a move up. He's still guys that have fought for the European title. It's better than what he was fighting 3-4 fights ago, without a doubt. He's moving up, and he's again, look, the fight we want is him and Frank Buglioni.
Oh, yes, please.
But I mean, Frank's got to get through Callum Johnson first. Whether that's going to happen, we don't. But I think we'll see Anthony Yarde moved on a bit quicker this year.
What's a good year for Anthony Yarde? So, same thing I asked you about Dubois.
Same as Dubois, picking up a British title or a Commonwealth title along the way. Whether it's going to be possible, and look, I'm sure Frank Warren would put him in for those sort of titles tomorrow. But it's whether you can get them.
Yeah.
He's got his world ranking and then move on to the world stage summer of next year. I know he's number 3 with a WBO, but I wouldn't like to see him suddenly go number 1 for the WBO after Kovalev's defence that we got on BoxNation in a couple of weeks against them. The Russian that was based in Germany, Igor Mikhalkin.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, well, as Anthony himself says, as his trainer Tunde Ajayi says, everything is timing. So
it's timing. You know what? It's not just about winning world titles. It's about when you fighting from at the right time, and so that when you do win them, you hold on to them for a while.
Well, he's not put a foot wrong so far, and he'll be back this Saturday night. I'm excited about seeing the Beast from the East return. Also in that show, as we mentioned before, is Daniel Dubois against DL Jones, and also one of my favourite fighters. I'm sure one of your favourite fighters, Zelfa Barrett.
Love Zelfa.
Ronnie the Shark Clark. Yeah? How about that?
I love Zelfa, mate. I think take Dubois out, best prospect Frank Warren's got, an absolute brilliant prospect. Grounded, does everything well, lives the life. I can't speak highly enough of Zelfa Barrett, and I'm hoping if I can work things out, so even if I'm not working this week, to get to York Hall to see Zelfa in action. He's he's exceptional, and I've just enjoyed making a BoxNation Meet Zelfa. I think it's going out this week.
It is, and when we'll come to that, we'll give that a little plug. But yeah, if you can't make it to the York Hall, watch it live on BoxNation this Saturday night. We'll be live from 8:30. And Steve, what do we know about Ronnie Clark then?
Hey, look, he always comes to fight. He gives it an absolute go.
Yeah.
But I think he's the style, because, he's not like he's a southpaw, but he's not a slick southpaw. The punches come winging in. And I think this is great matchmaking. He's the ideal opponent. He's good, he's tough, he's a bit of a name domestically, who will make Zelfa look $1 million and get more people talking about him. And it's fantastic that BoxNation are doing this show. It just shows you don't need to do shows with world champions. Show what you've got in your stable at the top of a bill. And these guys on there, Dubois, Yarde, Nathan Gorman, Zelfa Barrett, they're going to be headlining shows for years to come. Blue
chip prospects, I would say.
Yep.
And yeah, well, here's some that's going to be this Saturday at 8:30. But before that, of course, we are a 24/7 boxing channel over here at BoxNation. So here's some of what's coming up. Now, as Steve mentioned there, Thursday, 7 o'clock, BoxNation meets Zelfa Barrett. This is Steve Lillis spending how long, a day?
Couple of days we spent with him. Yeah, it was followed him in the gym back home to his house in Harper Hay, and
give it to us, tease it for us.
The interview in the gym was it was fantastic of him. You know, it was him that people say, you did the interview. He was the person that come up with everything.
Brilliant.
There was nothing he closed up on.
Yeah.
He talks about his brother who was taken, who died a few years ago. He talks about his relationship with his mum, what life was like in Harper Hay. What's it like having his uncle Pat Barrett driving him on? He's a fantastic interview, a great talker, and you can ask him anything. He'll answer you with a straight face. There'll be no wincing, no, that's an uncomfortable question.
Yeah.
He'll look straight at you and he'll answer you with honesty.
This is certainly a kid with a story. Steve, just on Zelfa there, I remember asking him what you're doing on New Year's Eve. Not that I was gonna go come out with me kind of thing, but we was just chatting, and he said I'm just spending it indoors with my mum.
Yeah, he's got a...
He's 23, 24 years old?
Yeah,
and
he's got a... I went to the house, and it's in Harper Hay in Manchester, and it's a little square of council houses, and I think they're council homes anyway, and you go in, there's stairs on your right, the kitchen, there's a small living room, and when Zelfa's got... That's where Zelfa sits. His mum's got her speakers in there.
Right, okay.
And when it's fight time, come up to a fight, his mum pretty much just moves up to the bedroom, and after training, all he does... He's lay on his settee with his TV, and all he does is watch BoxNation all day.
Wow.
And he just lives in that little room by himself. Obviously, he's got his bedroom upstairs.
Yeah.
When there's a fight coming up, his mum just leaves him alone.
And I would imagine when he's not watching BoxNation, he's probably listening to the podcast.
I hope so. He's the sort of fella that he's a boxing nutcase.
Good.
He's really, I've got to spend quite a bit of time with him. He's a terrific kid. I can't speak highly enough of him.
Good words.
As a fighter and a person, more importantly.
Yeah, absolutely. He's a good guy, and that's Thursday at 7 o'clock. BoxNation meets Zelfa Barrett. Friday at 7 o'clock, we've got Bunce's Boxing Hour, free to air. He had Boy Jones Jr. on the sofa last week, and he announced Sergey Kovalev is returning to the channel. We've got Kovalev coming up on March the 3rd. So he announces fights on Bunce's Boxing Hour. It's a show that you just can't miss, and I've got a feeling... if we don't announce it earlier on in the week, that there's going to be another announcement on Bunce's Boxing Hour this week, another fight added to the schedule. So keep an eye on that. Free to air on Sky Channel 437, and we'll try and get that live on Facebook for you as well. Steve, any hints? Do you know anything else that's going to go on there on Bunce's show?
No, I've just been talking to the producer this morning, what I'm going to be up to this week. I'm off to see Carl Frampton and Martin Murray. So there might be some clips of them, and I'm sure there'll be all the preview of the big show at York Hall on Saturday night. Well, the big prospect show, shall we say, at York Hall on Saturday night. I'm not sure about studio guests, a little bit early in the week, but I'm sure there'll be interviews with Martin Murray and Carl Frampton on there.
Well, if you're going to see Martin Murray and Carl Frampton, I dare say you're probably going to see Jack Catterall too now, huh?
I'm not sure if Jack's going to be in the gym tomorrow, whether they're just shutting it off for a couple of hours.
I see. Well, do you know what you need to do? Karaoke. Yeah, we need to get that
going again. If there's a karaoke
again.
machine there tomorrow, I'll have a go.
Have a go.
Don't worry, I'm not scared. I can't sing. I'm tone deaf. I am not scared of singing.
Well, that's Friday at 7 o'clock, Bunce's Boxing Hour, and Saturday 8:30 live boxing on BoxNation. The nominal main event is Anthony Yarde against Tony Avalant. Daniel Dubois is on that show. Zelfa Barrett, Nathan Gorman, and that's going to be live from 8:30. If you want BoxNation, you want the channel of champions, subscribe at BoxNation.com. It's very easy. It's a 3, 4, maybe 5 clicks away, and then you've got it live on your screen. And keep an eye out, because we're going to be announcing more and more shows. Keep an eye on our social media as well. And there's no minimum contract, by the way, to BoxNation. There's just cancel whenever you like, although we advise that you don't. So Steve, another week, another terrific podcast. We had Tete time, we had Ricky Hatton, we had OD, we had Triple D, we had Nathan Gorman. You enjoy yourself?
Always enjoy it, and we had some good interviews there. Enjoyed listening to Ricky Hatton, Nathan Gorman, Tete when I called him on the phone on Saturday in South Africa. Yeah, it's good fun then ringing these guys up in the week, showing a bit of love that we care for them on the podcast.
Well, for those wondering there, an additional note here, for those wondering where we are on the dream of Steve Lillis interviewing American referee Steve Willis, I dangled some bait the other day, leaving a comment on one of his YouTube videos, because he used to do stand-up comedy. He's got his own YouTube channel. I left a comment saying, great stuff. Will you come on the podcast? And I've not had a reply yet. The bait remains untouched. But fear not, I have another plan, Steve. I've got a plan.
Fire away.
Well, I can see he's on Facebook, right? So I've sent him a message on Facebook, and he hasn't seen it or he's ignoring me.
He's ignoring you.
No, Steve, he hasn't seen it. Okay, right. So what I'm going to do is, obviously he's got friends on there. I'm going to just start adding his friends, and then try and get to him that way. I mean, is it a bit weird? Is it a bit creepy? Yes. Is it extremely stalkerish? Yes. But if I'm able to deliver that interview to you, would it not make the BoxNation podcast the best in the world?
Yes. When Lillis met Willis.
Absolutely. So the dream is not dead. I will hunt that man down, and we will get an interview one day with referee Steve Willis. Let me put this out there, guys. Reviews do not write themselves. Leave us a review. Why should people leave us a review, Steve? What do you think?
To tell us we're great. Get us flying up the iTunes charts.
Validate.
And the more they do that, validate us, people will love us even more.
Absolutely. It's like,
so get in there, mark up them stars. That really is a help. Really does help the podcast.
It's like a like on Facebook. Yeah, if you put a picture up on Facebook, you need some likes, don't you? I mean, you're putting like selfies up all the time, aren't you, Steve?
Yeah, selfies of me stretching and.
Yeah. What sort of likes do you average?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, have a look. Have a little look.
I don't go right into the settings and.
No, it's good to keep an eye on it. Any sort of picture that I put up, if it gets under 10 likes, I'll tend to take it down. Because
really, that's interesting. I don't really look at stuff like that. What I do notice is on Facebook, I get a lot more reaction to when I might put a picture of me on a run than I do on Twitter.
Yeah.
Whereas on Twitter, it's mainly pure boxing audience.
Yeah. On Twitter, you're getting lost in the noise, perhaps.
Yeah.
So remember to tweet us any comments at BoxNation TV, at Steve Lillis, at Sani Dev. You have been